Hi everyone, I'm Jun from sampleapp.ai. Before I begin, could I have a show of hands? How many of you guys here are developers? That little? Developers. How many of you guys like reading API documentation? Exactly. Nobody likes reading API documentation, but APIs are important. They allow a developer to build integrations and do things that they couldn't otherwise do. Likewise, for an API company, they struggle to get you on board as well. They have to explain to you how the API works without it being too much or too little content. So what if, as a developer, you don't have to read documentation anymore? sampleapp.ai basically helps companies with API and SDK onboard developers to your public API in 60 seconds instead of 2 weeks. So basically what we do is we work with companies and train a custom prompt-to-app playground and have that playground embedded on their website or on their documentation for developers like yourself. So how it works for you, you just go there, simply describe your use case, say that you want to use this specific API or SDK, and it basically generates the entire app in the browser right in front for you to quickly test out how the API works. So over here, I'm just going to show you a quick demo of one of the companies that we're working with. So Statsig is a Series C company. They provide feature logging SDK and also other SDKs for companies like OpenAI. Instead of you reading through Statsig's documentation, which is extremely painful, all of these things that you have to figure out in like a day or so, how it works is that we train for them a playground, and this is the experience that you get. So you see this playground over here, you can first type in a prompt. I want to build a to-do list app or an e-commerce app. And once you press enter, it generates the entire app for you instantly. And over here, you can see that you will need an API key. You just simply press one button, it redirects you directly to Statsig, and basically it generates an API key for you instantly. So this is the experience that we built all within the portal together with whatever API company that we're working with. So once it's done, you can see the entire app running in the container in the browser for you. You can quickly test it out. Over here, what I'm doing is opening up the console log to see that whenever I do an action, which is pressing add, it actually logs it as an action, calls the SDK using Statsig, and basically this will be reflected in the Statsig console. And this is just one of the examples on how a developer can quickly have an app integrated with Statsig without having any knowledge. There's also other companies that we're currently in talks with, including Auth. So nobody likes writing authentication stuff, right? So basically what it does here is that I simply tell, I want to build an e-commerce website, press enter, select my framework, it builds an entire app together with Auth SDK being integrated within it. And we are able to do this because we work directly with each and single API company, and they provide this experience for you. There's also other examples such as payments, Grok, and a ton of others. But what if you're a developer that doesn't like starting from scratch? You can now select from a list of working sample apps that is at the bottom of the playground. So over here, I can see that there are some sample apps that is already there. I like this sample app. This sample app is already integrated with the SDK that I'm intending to use. I simply click on fork. It basically builds out the entire app instantly right in front of me. I can quickly test it out and determine whether this API is something that is helpful for me. So to summarize what I mentioned, 3 things that we help with companies. First, a developer can start from scratch. Second, they can select from a list of default prompts to have a working app. Lastly, they can select from a list of existing sample apps that is already pre-built with each API and SDK. So it works for any API, any framework, and we have there's basically endless opportunities for any company. It can be payments API, Auth API, voice API, and a bunch of others. So how easy is it to integrate to your website? Just one line of code. You can add to your Mailify, add to your Fern, add to your website, add to your login portal, and a bunch of other things. So do reach out to us to request for a preview. And the second tool that we have that we recently launched is an MCP server that allows you to connect to your cursor. You simply say, can you help me to integrate Statsig SDK? Use sample app MCP. You press enter, it retrieves the information from Statsig's documentation live on the spot for you, and you get the right context and the right API. So you can feel free to take a photo and scan it and use it. It's already live right now. And that's all that we have. We are backed by Alchemist Accelerator and the ex-CTO of Salesforce, and do reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you.